Welcome, Fedi Friends, to episode... Interesting. Sorry, I just noticed that I was seeing something on the desktop. Anyway, sorry. Welcome, Fedi Friends, to episode 12 of Fireside Fedi. I'm your host, Ozone. Fireside Fedi is a show about folks within the Fediverse. If you're seeing this, you're a part of the Fediverse. With me today, Stefano Marinelli, the admin of Fedi Meteo, or in the US. I'm just going to call it Fedi Meteo, if that's okay. Brings real-time weather updates to the Fediverse, covering cities across multiple countries. Explore country-specific weather forecasts and RSS feeds. But Stefano is also the barista of BSD.cafe, a site that runs all sorts of different services from Mastodon to Matrix, RSS, and more. Stefano has a keen eye for everything happening in this world and the fascinating beings that populate it. Stefano, welcome. And first and foremost, as always, how do you like to be addressed?
Thank you. Just Stefano or the Fediverse barista, if you prefer. It's okay for me. Both of them.
I love that.
There's the Fediverse chick that is sending messages all around the Fediverse. So I'm the Fediverse barista, serving coffees all around the Fediverse.
I love that. So, I mean, I guess where did the Fediverse barista come from? Obviously BSD.cafe, but why choose BSD.cafe?
Well, BSD.cafe because I decided to create. There was already a nice instance about BSD operating systems, that is the BSD network, and that was a part of it. But the problem with that instance is that it's a big instance. It grew quite big, so they had to stop with new registrations. So new users could not join, or the queue was quite important. And I wanted to provide some other different services, like, as you said, Matrix or others, RSS feed readers, and focusing more than in a typical social environment. I wanted to focus on a place where people could join, could come, like in a cafe, more than the typical American Starbucks, where people come and start working with their laptops, more in the Italian style. So the typical Italian bar, it's called bar. That's why barista, where people... that's the origin of the name.
Never got that.
And people can just enter in the bar. There will be the barista, which usually isn't just someone serving coffees, but is some sort of friend or confidant of the whole community, of the local people, or just providing information to people passing by and just asking for something about the local place. And sometimes the bar becomes the aggregation point of the entire community, and people just go to the bar just to relax, sit at a table, just have some random chat with people, usually about sports or typical topics. And I wanted to create a community with that specific spirit, a community where people could come into Mastodon or Matrix, just sit, relax, and find a positive place. So no fighting. Yes, of course, you can exchange ideas. We all have our ideas, but in a positive and welcoming way. So that was the specific task I had in mind when I created the BSD.cafe. So that's why BSD, because it's focused on the BSD operating systems, but not only. We also welcome Linux users, Windows users, even if we hope move to other operating systems. But the point is that we love technology, and BSD community is quite mature, and I'm not talking about age, but about tech skills, because people generally speaking start with an operating system, which can be Windows, Mac OS, then go towards Linux, and some just decide to explore the BSDs because they're curious. If you are that curious to find the BSD operating systems, it means you really care about technology, and the BSD.cafe is one of the best places to exchange your ideas, find solutions. And that was the original idea behind the BSD.cafe. So BSD because BSD operating systems, and cafe because this environment, relaxing, and positive place. I must admit that I announced it in July 2023 on the Fediverse. I was already on the Fediverse. I've been there for many years in a more active way since 2021. But in 2023, I decided to create this community, and the people loved it, immediately loved it. I didn't expect a great, a great wave of users since the first day. But I was surprised because as soon as I announced it, it was boosted, shared, tons of users, not only people I already knew on the Fediverse, but people from other social networks decided to come in and join. And it was incredible for me because I am nobody. I am not a famous person. So a random barista coming to the Fediverse and saying, well, I created a new home for people that want to join this. And it's been great. So if we consider the Mastodon instance, metric server, Snack instance, I'm also using Snack, and this is more for Fedi Meteo, so for Fedi Meteo, as you prefer. I'll talk about it maybe on Fedi Meteo. We have, I have no exact numbers as numbers change on a daily basis.
Daily,
so it's difficult. But I guess we are not far from being 1,000 people using the BSD.cafe services daily, not considering the subscribers of the Fedi Meteo service, which is not part of the BSD.cafe, but it's me.
But it's
again,
Stefano.
There we have many users, more than 5,000, and we have the exact number in the homepage of the Fedi Meteo website. It gets automatically updated once per hour. So at the moment we have, 5,706 followers. just
nice.
An exact number. But not less than those are just subscribed using the RSS feeds. So I can say something around 10,000 users using Fedi Meteo on a daily basis. And all served by a €4 per month VPS.
And we're going to get to that because that amazes me. But so yes, BSD is Berkeley Software Distribution. For those that don't know, it's basically like a great cousin to Linux. Like it was around before Linux, and a lot of folks thought that it would be what Linux has become, but due to different reasons, it is still widely used. Most people don't realize how big it is, but the one that a lot of us know is Linux. That's the more common desktop, right? That's the one Valve picked. But before we get into that stuff, what led you to this point? How did you get here? Do you have a background in software engineering? Did you always, growing up, like, I'm gonna jump onto a completely decentralized network that doesn't exist yet, and I'm going to create a whole bunch of services for people? Like, what led you to wanting to offer this? What led you to find the Fediverse, etc.?
Well, sometimes I say that I was born with a computer under my hands. I've been fascinated by computers. I think the first time I saw a computer, and I was something like 3 years old, 4 years old. It was the early 80s. So I still remember the day that when I got my first Commodore 64. It was 1987. It was my 8th birthday.
Okay.
Yeah, my parents bought it for me because I was spending all my time at my cousin's home because I had one of those. So I was always getting back home saying, please, pretty please, can I have one? So they decided to buy one for me, and I started creating stuff with that computer because I cannot explain why. Passions cannot be explained.
Yeah.
So growing up, it was for me the most natural thing to continue studying computer sciences. So I went to university. I had my first impact with open source software in 1996. It was Linux. Yeah. I found a CD box because at that time I could not connect in a stable way to internet. So I was just using FidoNet. I don't know if it was FidoNet was a network, an interesting network where people could connect to their local BBS, bulletin board system, and all those BBS, I'll make it simple, but we're exchanging messages, files, and private messages, usually once per day or twice per week. So a message you could send through your local BBS could reach the other part of the world in just a few days. And I became also a moderator of one of the thematic areas. It was virtual reality in 1994, 1995. I was just a teenager. And I was so proud of it. So it was natural for me to study that. And I saw in a magazine an advertising of this CD box. It was claiming 6 CDs with an open source operating system, so free. That was the most important thing for me at the time. It was free, and I started to use this Linux, and I was immediately fascinated by the freedom that this operating system was giving me. I could do anything, and that shell that is scaring a lot of people, where's the desktop, where are the buttons, where are the icons, for me meant, when you start writing a letter and you have an empty page in front of you and you say, okay, I can do whatever I want now. You do not have rules to follow. It's empty, it's blank. So I'm ready to fill it. And it was the same. So I started studying IT at university. It was nice because my university was quite oriented towards operating systems and open source operating systems. Mm-hmm. So it was quite easy for me to find people with a common frame of mind towards those operating systems. And I was quite, one of the few students that already had experience with Linux and other open source operating systems. And I was lucky enough to have as one of my teachers, Professor Ozalp Babaoglu. And Professor Babaoglu is still in great shape and was one of the creators of the original BSD operating system at Berkeley in the 70s. Yeah. So he never took pride of this. He never said, oh, well, look at me, I'm one of those. Because BSD people are great. And this is typical of the BSD community. You see great people just creating and for passion. It's mainly driven by passion. So yeah, but we'll get there. And so I had my first meeting with the BSD operating system in 2002. That led me to understand the power of the free, not as a freebie, of course, but as a open source, as of freedom. So not just Linux, but Linux, FreeBSD, NetBSD, OpenBSD, all the open source operating systems. And I started to understand that, we should always be owners of our data. And it was more than 20 years ago. So I'm getting there. I'm Italian, I'm verbose by design, and that's why I started using also social networks and in the early stages of their adoption, but I never really felt owner of my data. Yep. So when I first met those open social networks like Diaspora, those protocols, and ActivityPub, so Mastodon, the Fediverse, I really felt that was the right way to interact, because interactions are not connected to commercial interests or other but we are just interacting with people we want to interact with in a way we really like to do. And so that's why I started to get involved in the Fediverse. I mean, just creating my own instance. Tech people love to have their own instance, and see that the Fediverse will be one of the best ways to allow people to have a social experience, even if it's not perfect, even if there are big problems to solve, but it's the best we have today. So I started to commit myself and say, I had so much from the open source community, from the open communications, from the freedom to learn, to deploy, to have access to information in general. So I will do my best to do something to give back to the community. So that's why I started to create the BSD.cafe and be more involved in the BSD community, because I wanted to do something, because the open source community, the Fediverse itself gave me so much that I want to say thank you in my way. I'm an IT person, so what I can do is just give some of my time and of my resources to improve and increment the services in the Fediverse.
Wow. I had similar kind of backgrounds. Like I started this because I wanted a way to give back, right? And that's, as you said, and again, open source technology, I've been in open source technology for not as long as you, but the same amount of time. And I believe that it can really change things, and it empowers people. Like, yes, it's scary that, I don't know this, but you could do whatever you want with it. And I 100% agree with the data. Like, I've never understood why anyone starts a podcast on or really creates content specifically about technology that we don't own. Like, you're being an advertiser for free for someone else, right? And at least with this, you can go and you can create Fedi Meteo, and it's never going away. It's your passion project. The only time it goes away is when you decide you're done. No one's going to turn off the lights and block you out or cause you to have to pay tens of thousands of dollars in API costs just because, which is, it's completely against innovation. Like, no one can afford that, right? And so which came first though, BSD.cafe or Fedi Meteo? It sounds like BSD.cafe came first.
Yeah, it came first. BSD.cafe came, yes, in July 2023. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, Fedi Meteo came out in the very last days of last December, so just a few months ago.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, I think I put online the first instance, which has been the one for Italy, of course. I don't remember if it was 29 or 30 of December 2024.
Okay.
And it was funny because I was having a walk with my wife in the countryside, and it was the days around Christmas, and we were planning to do something, and we continued to say, let's look at the weather forecasts, let's think about the weather forecasts, who knows about the weather. And I had one of those ideas you have when you just breathe fresh air outside, and I said, I'm quite interested in weather forecasts, and I have a background about it. But, it would be nice to have those weather forecasts in my timeline, because I'm opening my timeline as BSD.cafe administrator so many times per day.
Right.
So having my own weather forecasts in a timeline would be absolutely better. Maybe sometimes I just forget to say, oh, yeah, that would be, nice. You don't need to go and open an app or open a website to have your weather forecast. And it came to my mind, and I wrote a blog post about it, about my grandfather. When I was a teenager, he used to bring me to school. When I grew up, I wanted to go with my motorcycle. And my grandfather was, always trying to convince me, no, I have to bring you tomorrow. It will be such a bad weather. I just saw the forecast. Because he was always looking at the forecast. He grew in a farm, so weather forecasts were still important for him, even if he moved to the city when he was something like 30 years old. So for so many years, but he was still quite interested in weather forecasts. So each day it was something about, between us, how will be the weather tomorrow? And he was always saying, well, not so nice. You'd better leave the motorcycle in the garage. I'll take you to school. And so thinking about the importance of having the weather forecast in the timeline, and remembering my grandfather that died some years ago, I said, well, I'll create this service. I call it Fedi Meteo, Fediverse Meteo, of course. And I will start publishing the weather forecast for the main Italian cities, just for me. If I will see that someone else will be interested in it, I could expand it. So I decided to get less than €4 per month VPS in a German provider I'm using for many other things. It has just 4 gigabytes of RAM, 2 cores, and some space in their SSD drives. They're not that fast, but they're okay. And I created this first instance about Italy. Then I decided to expand it to some neighbor countries, so Germany, France, Spain, UK. And I saw a lot of people interested. I announced it of course, over the Fediverse, the Fediverse, yeah. And people got immediately in love with it. I didn't expect it. So considering that I was also ill, so after the first days of the 2025, I had some flu, nothing serious, but some flu, so I had to stay home. I decided to expand it, so add countries day by day, and I saw lots of people coming in and starting to ask for new cities, asking for new countries, just saying thank you, which is the most important thing. Sometimes you do something for free, you don't want anything back, you just want to see that people will appreciate what you're doing, and that's the most refreshing thing for me. So the Fedi Meteo started. At a certain point, it was nice because I saw the instances under heavy load, and it was strange, as I was using software which was quite lightweight, so and that was because FediThing decided to share about Fedi Meteo and all the cities. So of course this meant thousands of users subscribing in just a couple of days. So that was great. So people started requesting for countries, for new cities. So I started for 4 days. I just worked for Fedi Meteo just to expand it, especially because I didn't plan at all to support so many countries and cities. And for example, I didn't consider different time zones. I didn't consider different city names and different states. So I had to completely rewrite the bots posting the weather forecast for the USA. And that's why I took some time. I had to recreate the software almost from scratch to be compatible with the countries I had already inserted. But, they had to support the time zones, the city and state, as the USA have a lot of cities with the same name and different states. So I had to fine tune it, and then I did it. So I expanded to USA, Canada, all those countries needing different time zones, and people appreciated it so much. I was, surprised by the success of Fedi Meteo.
It's incredible that you put this together in such a short amount of time, because it looks beautiful. Like we're used to in free and open source technologies, no offense to any software developers out there, we are used to it works, right? And then having to deal around it. This, I mean, you're not just a software engineer, you're a beautiful designer, because this is very humanistic. I could give this to, a grandparent, and they can look at it and they can easily be like, oh yeah, they might not know what the Fediverse is, right? But they'd be like, oh, well, this is a weather thing. And it's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Are you still running Fedi Meteo on a $4 VPS?
Of course I am.
That's awesome.
I created that VPS using, of course, it's powered by FreeBSD. The underlying file system is ZFS. So it's a quite demanding file system in theory, but practically it will help, as I can create snapshots and back it up in an easy way, just transferring the snapshots out of that machine and having a complete mirror of the whole VPS out of that server. I created some different jails, and the jails are like, much more complete, but like I'd not say Docker containers, more like LXC, LXD in Linux.
Oh, okay.
But in a different way. Jails are much more mature and older technology than Linux containers. They are strictly integrated into the kernel. So I decided to create like quite lightweight, so one instance for each country. And to achieve this result, of course, I had to use Snack. Snack is a great software, a great Fediverse software, written in C. It's minimal, but it's becoming more and more complete version by version. The dev is a great person, not just a great dev, but a great person. And in the early days of, for example, just to give you an idea, in the early days of Fedi Meteo, they contacted me and asked me for, what do you need to make it better? Just tell me. And I said, yeah, I would need, for example, that posts could have the language, as many people are filtering. Let me just see posts in English. Let me just see posts in Italian. Okay, just give me 5 minutes. And 5 minutes later, look at the GitHub, Codebug repository. I just implemented it, and this for a lot of things, and it's been great. The very spirit of open source, of collaboration, in its best and most shining way. And for me, it's been. I could not sleep at night for the, for the positivity that all this was giving me, even if I'm 45, almost 46 years old, so I'm not a kid, but giving me energy.
Yeah.
And I continue to add countries on that specific VPS. And the idea was to separate different VPSs when I could hit a limit. Of course, there will be a limit sooner or later.
Sure, physics.
The plan was to put the USA, in general, the American continent, to USA, Canada, Brazil, Argentina, which will probably be the next country to be supported. Just a small spoiler. And on a specific VPS in the American continent. But I found out that there was no need for that. The single less than €4 per month VPS was doing great with the USA, that only the USA have more than 1,200 cities, if I'm not wrong.
Dude, I
continue to increment the jail. So we are now at 35 countries, and I still see an average load, more or less between 10 and 20% of that VPS. So I will continue to add countries there as much as I can.
And that's amazing to me, right? So let's grasp all the things that you said. You're supporting 35 countries, 2,734 cities, and still adding, because you have specifically on your support page, if we're missing a city, hit us up. And there's a support page specifically for that. You are serving 5,706 followers, and on a $4 VPS. But not only that, and I'm absolutely amazed by the project. Like, this is incredible. But also, you talk directly to the developers who reached out and said, "How can we help you?"
Yeah.
Again, I say it so much. This is why I'm passionate about open source. This is why I'm passionate about the Fediverse, is because we don't need a big company to do this for us. We can all do it. Stefano is not going to build up the entire Fediverse himself. He's not going to have 50 billion followers, right? But you can contribute in your specific way, what you're interested in, what you're passionate about. And it doesn't have to be for $1 million, right? Like, I have talked to so many people about doing Owncast, and you're like, well, you can't do what Twitch does. No one can afford that. It's like, you're not Twitch. You're you. It just amazes me. And I love this. Again, it looks so amazingly professionally done. And again, you've made this so easy. Like, it's 3 steps. Find your city, follow it, get your updates. And it's so silly to say how easy this is. Like, so coverage, United States. I am in Raleigh, North Carolina. And I've already followed this. But if I check Raleigh, North Carolina, and I click on it, it actually takes you and says, hey, here is the actual update in the page. You don't actually have to follow it if you don't want. But if you want to follow it, you just follow this. Or the thing that I love, which I'm super excited to see, not just you, but the entire Fediverse, we've brought back RSS. RSS was dying. There was no reason for it to die, but it was just because no one was really supporting it anymore. So you can, for those that don't know RSS, if you're old enough to remember a newspaper, that's your RSS delivered right to your computer, right? Like, and you guys natively support it. Now, did you natively support that because of Snack? Or, so Snack supports that for you. That's amazing though.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I really like the Snack devs ideas and the Snack devs, frame of mind. It's similar to mine. As you said, you don't need to be Twitch. You don't need to be a billionaire or a multi-million company. You can still provide services and publish them and make them useful for people just with the tools we have. And the Snack Dev is a fan of simplicity and good protocols. So it was supported, Snack was supported RSS since the very first days. And that's why since I found Snack in late 2023, I started to be a supporter of it, because it's how software solutions should really be. Doesn't mean they should be too minimal or incomplete or 90s style. But I mean, you don't need a 16 gigabyte computer just to look at the weather forecasts. That's the point. Let me just say one more thing that I would not like. I'd better not forget. Fedi Meteo could not be possible without OpenMeteo. OpenMeteo is the provider behind the Fedi Meteo project, and that's been another great thing. OpenMeteo has some free APIs and quite a high limit. So I could start with a free tier, getting the forecasts using the free API. When the cities and the countries started to grow up, I had to contact them and say, sorry, are you okay if I'm just pulling so many API calls from that specific IP in my instance? I would not like to hit the limit or create problems to your website or service. Yeah. And they replied just saying, here's an API key. This has no limits. Feel free to use it, as we love Fedi Meteo too. And that was great. The creators of the weather services I'm using were aware of Fedi Meteo and were loving it. So,
well, and I think it's mutual respect, right? You again, and I'm not saying anything about a person in general, but when it comes to, especially now what we're seeing with AI is just going out and scraping everything to the point where it's actually a detriment to those systems. And there's no one back there that cares. You reached out, and just as a human being trying to say, hey, I love your service, but because I love it, I'm doing this thing and I don't want to crush it. Like that is mutual respect there. And it's amazing that they're just like, yeah, here you go. And again, you wouldn't get that with a corporation. Like, this is possible because of everyone giving so much love and free time to the thing that they're most interested in. That is pure how open source is supposed to work.
Yeah.
And that is so good. One of the things that I've said to folks, and since you've been around in BSD and Linux long enough, I don't know if you've seen, because I've seen the parallels of Linux and open source being reflected with the Fediverse. It is all of these passionate people that have all these amazing ideas, and then I'll hear like, well, we already have a microblog. Why do we need another Mastodon? Everyone go work on Mastodon. And that's when you're like, because that's the power of open source. And there might be something over there that might take off, and that might have a better idea that gets instituted somewhere else. Or like, there are those folks who's like, well, I only want the Fediverse to be for us. It's like, but it's open for good or bad. It could be used anyway. And like, there are some people who are like, well, I don't want this group on here because they don't align with my views. And it's like, that's not how this goes. Unfortunately, we create this and we let it out for everyone. And then it's only for us to be there to nurture and foster these things and be as welcoming and open as possible.
Yeah.
You see that reflected as well?
Yeah, I say that. I've been in the open source world, as you said, long enough to have seen all the evolution of the open source world since the late 90s to today, and how for many years from now. And what I see today is a big difference. I also had a presentation in Florence 1 month ago about this, why we should consider BSD operating systems in 2025. I remember in the late 90s or early 2000 years, people were saying, but the whole world is running on commercial Unixes or Windows. Why do you need to use Linux? What's the purpose of using Linux? Those are just toys, open source. It's just something you play within universities. And I started saying, no, it's something that could really bring a lot of services, a lot of positivity to your systems. We can run it on any kind of system. You don't need licenses. You don't need to spend so many money. You can focus more on paying people than licenses. And people, it's not just me, of course, but people working with those systems. And people were looking at me like, yeah, you're sure, yeah. But over time, after year after year, this somehow changed, and Linux won. I mean, we were fighting for expanding the open source adoption all around the services all around the world, where people were not aware or just convinced by the open source power. And today we have open source everywhere: our smartphones, our computers, our car, everywhere, our smartwatches. I mean, everywhere. And Linux won. So we won that battle. Actually, we won that war. The problem is that, as sometimes happens, and this is happening on the Fediverse too, people start saying, okay, we have Linux. Why do we need the BSD operating system? Well, we have the very same situation had to face 25 years ago with Windows and Linux, but I'm ready for this battle too. So I'm trying to explain people that Linux is great. I like Linux. Personally, I have I don't know, hundreds of Linux servers still operating, and I'm still creating them. I'm using Proxmox as virtualization platforms, and I've been using it since 2012, I'd say 2013. So a very long time. But the point is that Linux is becoming so mainstream that it's becoming, I'm not against systemd or just innovating for innovation's sake. They're great tools. I'm okay with them, but I don't need systemd for my Raspberry Pi. You know what I mean? Or just to change everything just because, hey, this is the new way to do. But, okay, boomer, just be silent, just be quiet. Just sit beside the fireplace and read your old books. And the BSD operating systems are great, are stable, are reliable, are secure. Yesterday we had the announcement of the latest release of OpenBSD, and we're all using OpenSSH, for example. And OpenSSH, our SSH, comes from the OpenBSD operating system. So those are great operating systems. And people should consider them, because we should keep fighting against monoculture.
Yes.
And that's the same thing that is happening into the Fediverse.
Yeah, no, fighting against monoculture. I love that. I've never thought of it that way, but that's exactly what it is. And modern day Linux would not look like what it does without BSD. BSD would not look like what it looks like without modern day Linux, and they share. And one of the things that I've told people, I'm not a software developer and I don't take my own advice, but what I share with people is, if you create code, create it in an open manner, right? And like, well, my code is terrible. It's like, it doesn't matter. You never know when someone drives by and it's like, oh, that's a great idea. How do I get started? Or that code, I don't care if one person looks at it. That code can spark someone to change the world. And it doesn't matter if 500 of the exact same exist. There's something about yours that they looked at. It's, in my opinion, when you open source your code, it's not, you manage it, you control it, you have the ideal about it, but it's then everyone's. And again, it's the same thing about the Fediverse. And we all cross-pollinate, right? Like PieFed social, right? It looks like Lemmy, but it works like other things.
Yeah.
And I love all of this because, again, you can create Fedi Meteo and someone can come around and be like, hey, that's amazing. I'm going to take that and I'm going to use it in something else. And we all have our experiences and our niches and our passions, and we get to share those and all bring them together here. Again, we don't need to worry about being locked out because someone got upset that their API isn't making money. I absolutely love all of this. Sorry, I'm rambling and
it's interesting, yeah.
It's so exciting to hear because, like, again, in our walls, we're like, well, I have this feeling that this is the way, but no one else is going to appreciate it. And you make something and then someone appreciates it. And you're just like,
yeah. Yeah. It's,
we do it so satisfying. So yes, right.
And the difference I saw, for example, I have I work daily. My main task as my daily job is working on my company that I created because I wanted to be able to work on the technologies I wanted to bring to my clients, not the one decided by others, by licenses, or by just constraints out of my control. And it's beautiful because sometimes I meet young devs and they're great because they're young, they want to do lots of things, and I immediately understand when they are passionate or they're just doing it because it has a good wage. Because when they have a good wage, just provide me a Docker server and I will fire up a Docker Compose up and I'm okay.
Yeah.
The ones that are passionate just as me, you say about BSD.JS, let's try it. And when they try it, they never go back as they find the positive sides of this technology and they appreciate them. And the same on the Fediverse. Sometimes people ask me, but you at BSD.cafe, you have the Mastodon instance. And Mastodon is the most widespread software of the Fediverse. So why did you also install Snack as BSD.cafe? Because I love Mastodon. I like it. Many people around are always criticizing it because it's heavy, because I don't find it heavy. Yeah. I find it scalable. The BSD.cafe has very low, I was writing a message to a colleague this morning about it, has very low expenses. BSD.cafe is quite cheap to maintain and run. Of course, I'm using resources that I'm also using for other projects, so it's not dedicated. Sure. The only dedicated resource is the €3.29 per month VPS that is acting as a reverse proxy for all the services, and the WireGuard entry and exit point, because the services are running on another VPS, which is running on my bare metal server, which will connect to that VPS and just get the connections and connect to other servers through that. So I can use the public IPs of that VPS and move the production VPS with all the services where I prefer. So sometimes it's running on another server, sometimes it's running on my basement. I can move it wherever I like it. But summing everything up, I don't think that BSD.cafe, even if it's getting a dedicated server, and we have Mastodon, Matrix, Snack, Lemmy, Press, the Wiki, Fresh RSS, Miniflux. We have many services. I think that BSD.cafe could be run in a quick way, without any particular problem, in 60 or 70 euros per month dedicated. So sometimes I read in the Fediverse people spending thousands of euros per month for instances with 100 users. I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Well, I know. For example, media storage on Mastodon is a problem. So one of the first things that administrators do is just outsourcing media on S3. So external buckets. But the problem is that Mastodon is creating so many medias. We're keeping medias for some days at BSD.cafe, and we still have more than 100 gigabytes of media. So Of course, it's mostly caching
Right.
from
Yeah.
the other instances. It's on a specific server I have with Minio. I don't know how to pronounce it. I call it Minio. The S3 open source S3 Minio. I don't know how to pronounce it in English.
I don't know that one. Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't even know there was an open source S3. I run Hetzner myself.
Okay.
Open source. Oh, yeah, Min.io.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm storing the media there. So the Mastodon instance twice a day will perform a cleanup. So delete the old, cache the pictures or videos. It will re-download them if needed. And I can keep it in 100 and something gigabytes. So nothing too impossible to maintain today. So it's quite cheap to maintain the BSD.cafe if you're not doing it in a very, expensive way, keeping medias for months or just not optimizing stuff. And
Yeah.
Fedi Meteo is the example in less than €4 per month VPS.
Well, and it's I find it has been a bit contagious in that both Linux and the Fediverse, really, for those that are interested, right? And that's I think the big instance. I've had a lot of people who are like, well, I'm interested, but I'm not smart. It's like, smart has nothing to do with it, right? Like if you're interested, I'll make the time, and you introduce them. And we have lost so much control over our machines, our data, that people are just like, well, this is just how it is. Like literally people were born into this world only having known these big tech. I have 2 little kids. Not that they're into this yet, but I try to keep them away from that, because like it's like for those that don't, people that are into cars, right? Like, and unfortunately, it seems like we're trying to go down that route where cars, anyone can tinker with the car, but we've gotten to the point where they're like, no, you're no longer allowed to tinker with your car. You have to bring it to us to fix it. We're finally seeing pushback on that, but technology has been that way. I mean, I grew up on DOS, but even DOS was still very closed. And once you start realizing all the power that you can do with these things, like it gets addicting, in my opinion, where it's like, oh, what can I do with it next? Where can I go with it next? And that's, I myself, I'm looking like, what can I do next for to Fediverse and for all of this stuff? Where do you see BSD.cafe and Fedi Meteo going? Do you have any grand plans for them?
I have. To be honest, I'm more excited about those services now than when I started them. So I'm really proud and happy to bring them, forward in the best way possible. For Fedi Meteo, I'm planning to expand it. My let's pretend there's nobody hearing us now. Just of course,
everyone turn off your ears.
My dream would be to cover all the possible countries in the world. Of course, probably not with that €4 per month VPS, but I'm not sure it won't happen because the not biggest as extension. But after I could cover more than 1,000 cities, the USA, and I haven't seen a huge spike, just a little increase in load of that server, I can comfortably say that, maybe I will bring most of the world into that VPS. And that would be nice because I want to demonstrate, as you said, that we can do anything we want using common technology. Cheap technology. You don't need lots of money or complex Kubernetes setups just to show a web page, just to share the weather forecasts. But keep the code simple. And simple doesn't mean ugly. I'm a terrible designer, so I was quite surprised. You said it was beautiful to see. Actually,
it is beautiful.
I've been helped by my wife, and so. But the point is, I'm trying not to overcomplicate stuff because maybe just giving a small effect will mean doubling the difficulty of maintaining it, or just the CPU power needed to provide it. So opening a Fedi Meteo page would just mean looking at a plain HTML file. So you can just see the weather forecast from a 20 years old computer or 30 years old computer. And this doesn't mean we have to get stuck with old technologies.
Stefano, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think you and I remember when you could go look at the weather on a plain HTML weather page. And it is ridiculous that we have to restate, I just want to show the weather. Like, and that's it. No ads, no tracking, no cookies, just the stinking weather. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but it just blows my mind how far we come. And this is why we need folks like you. It's just like, here's the weather. That's it. And all you want is the world.
Yeah.
Just the world.
Give the weather to all the people all around the world. There are some problems, of course. I'm quite scared of adding some, countries that could have some problems, political problems, wars. Mm-hmm. For example, I tried to give the weather forecasts in local languages. So I asked for, translations or checks. I used Google Translate or systems like that, because of course I don't speak all the languages I've covered, and sometimes people started to follow those countries just suggest me, this is not perfect, just change this to this. People cooperated with me to make the service better and increase the accuracy of the local languages. But sometimes I just made some mistakes in an innocent way. For example, when I covered Ireland, I've been in Ireland. I've been there in September for the BSD conference in Dublin, and had a great time there. It's a beautiful country. I'd never been there before, so it was all new. And I found a lot of signs, both in English and Irish. So I started creating, the Ireland coverage of Fedi Meteo in Irish. Said this is something they should be proud of. But they contacted me and said, well, we do not all speak Irish, mostly old people or something. So could we please have English back? And that was great. And also had some similar problems with, multilingual countries. So I just try to ask people, but when there are some borders, problems at borders, that would be a problem, because if I put a city in a specific country, but there are political problems, I don't want to upset or disappoint people or just have problems for myself because I decided to put that city in that country because maybe Wikipedia tells me this is the right way to do.
Right.
So I'm trying to stay away, at least for now, from those problems.
Have you had any kind of pushback like that? I mean, outside of someone saying, hey, like you have a typo in this language or something, have you had anyone that came to you? So back to Stux of mstdn.social, like, he hosts people from all over the world. And at one point, he got an actual takedown letter from the Russian government to take down a certain person's site. And he's like, he reached out to his local data center. And they're like, yeah, we just have to tell you. We don't care. And he's like, okay, well, I'm not in Russia. I'm nowhere near that. You're outside of my realm. Have you had any kinds of issues where people are like, hey, this city is actually in this country? Or has it been very welcoming and open? And
not at the moment.
Okay.
To be honest, I did not. I received some criticisms about some of the choices, but mostly something like the wind speed should have, an arrow or something like that. So that's great. Those are suggestions. The worst things I received, of course, worst in quotes, has been something like the forecasts are not accurate for my city, as my city is quite large. So this is unreliable. I'm sorry. I'm asking more information. Sometimes it happened that the GeoPy library that I use on my script to detect the coordinates of the specific city are wrong. So that's why that specific city will not have accurate forecasts. Maybe the GeoPy will report that city 200 kilometers far from the place where it's supposed to be. So when people contact me and tell this, I fix it. I just have a look manually have a look. fix it so it won't happen anymore. Sometimes the Open Meteo forecasts aren't that accurate because maybe that specific point hasn't an accurate map, a coverage map for Open Meteo. They have 200 kilometers range for that city, and as you can imagine, 200 kilometers is a long space to be accurate. So that's all I received, but no DMCIA, no criticisms, at least for now.
Has anyone reached out to you and said, I don't have local weather forecasts here. This is my local weather forecast? Like has anyone said essentially that the service has become critical to them?
Some did.
Really?
Sometimes what I love, I also saw in the chat, sometimes I'm just looking at the chat and see some words.
Yeah.
And people just contact me to ask for their specific city or town or village. And I'm trying to add as many as I can. Of course, if I have a village that is just 10 kilometers from a covered city, I'm not getting, one more city. So one more account, one more API call, one more update push just for that. But sometimes people ask me for some specific places that are not covered by the official services. Something like I cannot get the forecast for this specific part of the country, or they say you cover this part of the country but not this. You should cover those cities to have a wide coverage of the whole country. People are incredibly helpful and positive when I think that people are positive when you try to be positive towards them. And so I could expand the service and all the cities, all the countries, and increase the accuracy of the service. And people sometimes write and say, you're the only service, not only on the Fediverse, but in general, that is providing accurate forecasts for my city. I usually respond, it's Open Meteo, it's not me. But they see Fedi Meteo and say thank you to me. And this is great. Sometimes people on a daily basis actually are asking for new countries, and I will add new countries, but it's a project I'm following with my free time. So I'm just, maybe I will add 3 countries in 2 days, and they may be nothing for 1 month. Depends on my free time.
Depends on how fast you can get it out. So everyone needs to remember that this is an open project. There's one guy behind it. We can talk and ask, do you have a GitHub with Open Meteo that folks, or sorry, Fedi Meteo that folks can try and help with? Or I know that you have a LibrePay and a Ko-fi, which I'll link in the video description and in the podcast for folks to donate to. But what is the best way people can help with BSD.cafe and Fedi Meteo and anything else?
Well, let's start from Fedi Meteo. At the moment, I've not released the source code. It's not on GitHub. It's on Brew. I called it Brew, as it's a Forgeio service on of the BSD.cafe. We have a Git repository for BSD.cafe users, of course, and it's being scraped by the AI crawlers. And the problem. You already described it. They're rude, so I'm trying to block them as much as I can. And all I'm asking for now for Fedi Meteo is just to help me to expand the coverage. So if users should notice that a specific part of their country is missing or is not correct, sometimes I'm just wrong with the names or the spellings. Foreign languages are not easy at all. So I'm just creating usernames in the old no quotes, no accents, nothing, just to keep it plain. But this means that the description could be not accurate. So people are writing, you should write this way, and I'm modifying it. So people at the moment just could help in helping me to make it better, just providing suggestions on the languages, the cities, the coverage maps, and of course requesting new countries. When I have a number of requests for a specific country, I usually implement it in a couple of days. Consider that I created a structure that I would just clone one of the existing jails. So I already have my bot I already have Snack. I have everything. I just create a new Snack instance, which is trivial, just a command. It's beautiful. If needed, I translate the pages. If not needed, because I already have the language supported, I just adapt it for the specific country. When I can, I just put the colors of the flag, just to make it more, fancier.
Is there? I haven't noticed that. I'm checking now. Is that better?
You can have a look.
Hang on. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Not the flag, but the colors when possible. So for Italy, it's simple because the flag is just the three colors, France or so. But
yeah, so really, you're just looking for feedback.
Yeah, at the moment, I just for feedback and suggestions about new countries to implement, and I can implement a new country in less than 1 hour at the moment. So just create the certificate. I'm using HA proxy as a reverse proxy. I was using Nginx, but I'm using HA proxy because I can create some rules, perform some caching of the media. As you see, the logo you also put on the presentation of this show, the one with the sun and the cloud. It's a single JPEG file or PNG, I don't remember at the moment. And it's being used by all the instances, using a €4 per month. So I'm trying to save on bandwidth and on resources. So it's cached by the reverse proxy and will be served from RAM, as we don't need to read that file thousands of times per minute. And it's working. So also the status is when I push an update from Snack. So this city has a new forecast, so the message will be pushed. Snack hasn't sidekick as Mastodon, so it's just pushing directly using its C code, its workers. I just cache that message at the reverse proxy level. So all the requests from the instances that will come and request for the message, the JPEG or the actor, so the user data, we just get the data from the reverse proxy. That's why I can keep the loads so low.
No, and that's something that even I as an IT, I know that exists. I know we can do that, but it's something I've never even thought of, right? You don't have to keep hitting the server for static images and stuff, so that all needs to be cached. And that's brilliant use of that. I'll be honest, I have thought about this for a while, right? You're coming to where people are. And I think that's inherently important for any kind of technology that wants to take off. Again, normal folks, they don't want to have to go to 3 or 4 different websites, right? If they can get it all in one spot, they get it here. And Fedi Meteo, I had not thought about the weather in that aspect. I had thought about when we saw Twitter with its mass exodus, there are all of these critical services, like a local fire department that announces, when there's an issue or something like that. And then someone told me about Fedi Meteo, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I can get my my local forecast right here. And then immediately it popped into my thought, which I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if anyone's done this or whatnot. Is there any way to have Fedi Meteo announce extreme warning alerts or anything like that? Are there any plans for anything like that?
People have been asking this for some time now because some of them are still stuck to other social networks just because of those services.
Right.
The problem of adding them is that first, this would mean that I should get those data from specific channels.
That's kind of what I thought was the issue, right?
Meteo won't provide those, and that would be difficult and should be considered city by city, country by country. Right. It would be quite difficult. The second point is that, as you say, Meteo is a project led and managed and run by a single person. That's not the problem. There are people offering their help, and I appreciate it. But the problem is that it's not an official service. I would never like to know or that someone could put their health in danger because of a paid update or something like that.
Right. Yeah,
I prefer to consider it like, a fun project, something like, let's see the weather, more than something that people will rely on for really important stuff. Then, it's weather forecasts after all, and weather forecasts aren't always accurate, but giving critical alerts is a much more serious topic to cover, and Fedi Meteo isn't prepared for this. at
No,
least for
okay,
now.
but it's good you thought about that, and no, I 100% agree. At this point, a lot of that so the U.S. we don't have any kind of broad alert system. There's some that exist for like major incidents, but like we're talking about like a local fire department. That's a local thing. You might get city, probably county, unlikely outside of the state where there's any kind of platform like that. So you would have to go to each and every one. So in reality, we need to approach those people there and be like, hey, you remember Twitter? You can do this on your own out here and have a service somehow. And again, this is only from a US point of view. I've never been around the world, so I don't know how a lot of folks do it, but it would be nice to eventually get that kind of stuff, right? The way that Twitter got their following with local news, we really need to go out to these services and be like, hey, this exists. This isn't going to get shut down unless you want to shut it down. People are here. This is a good cause to invest in, kind of a thing. But yeah, we're working towards things like that, right? I think we're one step at a time. And right now we have Fedi Meteo. So
exactly, I'm trying to do one step at a time. For example, we have in Italy an alert system, and it's been working for some months now. It's called IT Alert, IT for Italy, of course, but it's local. I mean, I will receive a message on my phone only if that alert is specific for this zone I'm in that specific moment. So I would not receive an alert for 200 kilometers distance, just the local one.
right.
So otherwise I could just publish them, just maybe, publish them, and people could look at them and say, oh, this is for me and this is not for me. But it would be too difficult to do it for now. So for now, I'm just concentrating on covering the world, on pushing the weather, flooding the Fediverse with the weather forecast for as many countries as I can.
No, and it's great, and I hope that you keep it up. Someone's got to do it, and it's amazing to have it, and I appreciate it. My wife literally yesterday, she's like, "What's the weather outside?" Or was it this morning? I think it was this morning. She's like, "What's the weather outside?" And I pulled up my phone, and I had just gotten the post, and I'm like, "Oh, it's 40 degrees outside right now." She's like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's cold." And then she's like, "What's it supposed to get up to?" And I was like, "Well, I have Fedi Meteo right here. I can show you." I think we're getting up to like mid-70s. Yeah, it's great. But we do have to move on. So now for the real reason I asked Stefano here is to give them an opportunity to win a prize of a lifetime. Our prize today is 500 gallons of dehydrated rainwater.
Ooh.
Yeah. So thought about getting you the official ruler of Fediverse meteorology, but it didn't measure up, and that also doesn't exist. So are you ready for the quiz, Stefano?
Ready.
All right. Favorite movie and why is it Spaceballs?
Favorite movie, sorry?
Yeah, favorite movie.
Yeah.
And why is it Spaceballs? If you've never seen Spaceballs, go watch it right now. We'll wait. No.
I will have to watch it. Favorite movie is quite difficult to say. Maybe Back to the Future. But just because when I was a kid, I saw it so many times that I could just say it by heart.
Back to the Future. I love Back to the Future. And it's funny because I constantly tell people how I hate time travel movies. And everyone instantly says, well, what about Back to the Future? And I have thought about it a lot. And I tell them, Back to Future is not a time travel movie.
Nope.
Back to Future has time travel in it, but that's to start the adventure of the movie. It is not about that. Back to Future 2, in my opinion, the worst Back to the Future, is a time travel movie.
Yeah.
Right? But the rest of them aren't. So yes, love Back to the Future. Arch, by the way, or GNU/Linux?
FreeBSD, NetBSD, OpenBSD, RunBSD. No, joking, of course. Alpine Linux.
Pine Linux?
Alpine Linux.
Oh, Alpine Linux. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love all the Linux flavors, actually. So all the distributions. I'm old enough to have lived, all the distro wars. I never loved those wars, never loved those dramas. I always thought that if we, spent more time in building something together than just... I'm a fan of the many distributions because each one of them brought something new to the whole ecosystem. And as you said earlier, a spark in a person's mind maybe became a fire, a beautiful fire for a barbecue maybe, and a new distribution are part of it. But actually, I never loved the distro wars. So I like simple distributions. Alpine Linux is one of those
very simple
distributions that keep simple, just get the job done. So I like it. I've been an advocate of GNU Linux way of saying, because late 90s, early 20s, it was a religious topic. This one, I love Arch Linux because it's one of those distributions that will really teach you a lot about operating systems. So I love all of them. Most of what I've learned about Unix-like systems has been from the BSDs, of course, with FreeBSD handbook, OpenBSD documentation, NetBSD simplicity and build process, but also I don't know in English how to pronounce it, Gen 2, I'd say, more than 20 years ago, because you had to build everything, Slackware, of course.
Yeah.
You had to build everything, and you really needed to understand what was under the beautiful shell you could find. And this is the basis of the Fedi Meteo, BSD.cafe. Keep things simple and make sure they're light, so you can run there everywhere. I have a lot of, of those toys like this.
Oh, what's that?
This is an old PC Engine's APU. It's
PC Engine's APU? I don't even know what that is.
APU, yes, it's called APU, PC Engine's APU. Unfortunately, they're not producing them anymore.
Huh. Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Yeah, those are embedded, old embedded systems.
Okay, yeah.
This one is an AMD 64, 3 Ethernet
Yeah, I saw the
ports,
multiple ports on
2 USB ports, serial, fanless, just a bunch of watts as a consumption. This can run almost everything I ran today, of course, not the complex stuff, but Fedi Meteo could run here too.
Right.
And this is something that,
Yeah. Our cell phones have more than enough power. They could literally be fine running that stuff, and we just throw them in the trash.
Yeah.
Amazes me. Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. Gelato or Italian ice?
Gelato. Italian gelato.
Yeah. Italian ice. When I was looking up that question, Italian ice isn't even Italian, but I found it funny. Gelato is delicious. Okay. Real gelato is delicious. I'm
joking a lot on the Fediverse about about me being Italian. As I said, I'm Italian. I'm verbose by design. I'm usually not this way, but I'm trying to bring a smile on the face. So each of us has their own peculiarities. So I'm trying to bring some Italian positivity. I'm posting food pictures or landscapes, and people sometimes, please, that tiramisu, please, I want to see more about that pizza. And someone sometimes say, you should be hired and paid by the Italian tourist office. You're trying to. But, I try to bring the positive things that I see daily.
Yeah. We've gotten so used to just so much negativity, just a smile and, a silliness. That's I'm the same way. Speaking of silliness, so what does an alternate universe Stefano do?
Oh, I have so many hobbies. I cannot, I do not have time to go deep. Maybe a pianist. I would love to play. Yeah, one of the things that I really regret about my life, I never took playing piano too seriously, and now it's late to do serious stuff.
It's never too late. It's never too late.
I know it's too late because I do not have time, and I have so many things that passionate me more.
That's okay. So that's it right there. Like,
so it's secondary, but in an alternative universe, no technology. Okay, let's play piano.
Well, and that's that's the thing. There's always time if it's a priority, right? Like you are never too old. When I graduated college, there was a woman that was like 85 and she got her bachelor's degree, and she, her whole family was there, all of her grandkids. And she told them, like, this is something I've always wanted to do. And they're like, go do it.
Yeah.
Like, we're here. We'll support you. Go do it. And she did. And that's amazing. Yeah. It's never too late, but if it's not as high of a priority, then yeah. But I reached out to an alternate universe because I have a special alternate universe phone here. Don't ask how it works. It's very technical. And I spoke to an alternate universe, Stefano, and he is a luminosity botanist. He informed me his title. He basically just opens windows in a greenhouse so that the plants can get more sunlight. But he was so passionate about his job, luminosity botanist, that he actually created an artificial sun, but he'll only let it be used to light and give nutrients to his plants. So it's an alternate universe, Stefano. Next question, spaghetti or meatballs?
Yeah. Spaghetti or meatballs?
Spaghetti or meatballs?
Spaghetti with meatballs, of course.
If you could only have spaghetti or meatballs, what should it be? And this is, as I was telling Stefano earlier, like, my grandparents were 100% Italian. They both came to the U.S. through Ellis Island, when there was a large Italian population about 100 years ago. So I grew up on spaghetti and meatballs every single Sunday. There is no question. There is no spaghetti or meatballs. It is only spaghetti and meatballs. Yeah. But in this case,
let's say, joking about being Italian, let's say spaghetti, of course.
Spaghetti, okay.
Yeah, continue to play the Italian role.
I loved meatballs, or I still love meatballs. And they got to be spicy. You got to have a kick in those meatballs too. Yeah. Like, can't make them bland.
Yeah, of course, in Italy we have tons of variants of those recipes. So you can have spicy, you can have a small meatballs, big meatballs, fish, vegetables, pasta we have hundreds of kinds of pasta here. So sometimes we decide which kind of pasta do we want today. That's one of the most important topics for the lunch, because we have pasta every day, of course, in Italy.
The Brits are known for their tea. You're known for your spaghetti or pasta. It's pasta. It's not. Everyone calls it spaghetti. Spaghetti is a specific kind. But we used to have, before COVID, in Raleigh, downtown Raleigh, we had a restaurant called, I think it was called Oak City Meatballs or something. And I'm like, how can you have a restaurant just on meatballs? And they're like this. They're gigantic, or they were. And they were fantastic. Love it. Miss it.
They could have a restaurant about that. If they were fantastic, I'm sure it was always full.
Oh, yeah. They did really well. Yeah. So as usual, our last question is going to be sent to you telepathically. So I'll send you to the question telepathically. I'll let you know when you got the question. I mean, obviously, you know when you got the question because you're telepathic, but it's for our audio only folks so that they know when I sent it. So once I give you the question, just let me know what your answer is. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I sent you the question. What's your answer to that question?
42.
40. Man, that is a very common answer. I don't know why. I don't know why. Awesome. That's interesting. So congratulations, Stefano. You got every answer either correct or incorrect. Good job. Our community member
questions.
Our community member Nico was on his way to drop off your 500 gallons of dehydrated water, but he said it turned into a cloud and drifted away. But really, I think he drank your dehydrated water. So I'll make sure to punish him accordingly. And that's all the time we have for today. Stefano, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for all you do. Fedi Meteo is such an awesome project, and I seriously use it multiple times a week. I want to thank you for all the support too with BSD.cafe. You're absolutely amazing. It's folks like yourself that the Fediverse is going to live on forever and will continue to grow and expand. Just your energy, your passion, your time, it's invaluable. And I appreciate it. I think everyone should appreciate it. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we go?
I just want to say a big thank you for inviting me. It's always, as you see, I enjoyed every single moment we've been talking together and reading the comments. It's pure joy for me. It will be a great evening. as I told you before, I woke up this morning before 6 o'clock. I drove for something like 5 hours today, had a very full day, but I couldn't wait to have this moment with you, with all the people, because it's something that fills me with energy. So thank you for all you do. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for this space, which is gorgeous. And really, thank you. Thank you. The Fediverse is great. It's great because of people like you.
No, people like you. Thank you so much. And to all the Fedizens, take care of yourself. Live your life with compassion, empathy. Never stop learning and improving. Always move forward. And we'll catch you next time on the next Fireside Fedi. So everyone have a lovely day. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.